Hello and welcome to this terrain tutorial. In this video I'll be walking you through the process of creating your own winterized ruins terrain. The terrain featured here was made to order, and the customer requested it have a Warhammer 40k theme. Typically these ruins are suited more for the fantasy wargaming genre, however I imagined a few ways to make it fit the sci-fi setting, and I'll show you those as we walk through the steps. Firstly, cut out your bases. I recommend using MDF as it's a malleable wood to cut. It has a good strength and can be bought easily and relatively cheaply, especially if you shop around local wood yards for offcuts and the like. Here I've cut 2 large bases, 6 medium and 6 small. On the large and medium I've used 4mm MDF as it's a good density to prevent the models from warping over time. 3mm for the smaller ones because it's a bit easier to cut and you don't need that extra density. Try and cut natural shapes into your bases. Avoid straight edges where you can. Once finished, your terrain will fit together in a variety of ways, much like a jigsaw puzzle. Square bases tend to stand out on gaming tables and jagged corners are an eyesore. Bevel the bases, that is to say, cut or file an angle into them so that their edges slope down to the table. This goes a long way into making your terrain fit into whatever table you put it on. Here, I carved some irregular shapes into foam board and used them as guidelines and supports for my foam modeling bricks. This was done to reflect the irregular shapes you would expect from an alien temple. When building your larger structures, it's best to have an idea of the finished product before you begin. Here, I've drawn on the base my rough concept and laid the foundations of my Colosseum-esque temple. Here, with the pyramid temple, I've simply layered foam modeling bricks on top of each other until the design takes shape, using foam board at the center for extra support. Foam board and foam modeling bricks pretty much go hand in hand when scratch building terrain. That's why our DIY hobby kits include plenty of both. On the smaller bases, I've put 3 small walls and 3 rubble piles. These act as great scatter terrain in conjunction with the larger terrain pieces. At the edges of each wall section, create a little bit of collapse to cut it off before it reaches the edge of the base. For the rubble, create one large pile of collapse dotted with pairs of bricks around it. I forgot to take pictures of this next step, but it's especially necessary for winterized terrain. You're going to want to create a small layer of filler on the bases of your models and dab it on so a lot of texture comes through this filler. It's just a simple filler solution, wall filler, powdered wall filler with water because it's necessary, and PVA glue. You want to dab it on and get a rough texture through with that. Now onto the painting. Firstly, apply a layer of PVA glue and water solution. This strengthens the structures and makes them take better the spray paint. Add black paint to the mix because, well, you may as well. That way it does 2 jobs in one. Secondly, spray with any black spray paint. Do this from a distance of roughly 12 to 18 inches. Secondly, I recommend spraying with a textured spray paint. The one I use here is a grey textured spray paint. You can buy this from a lot of hobby stores or just general stores like Wilko's in the UK sells it. Finally, spray white from a distance of 18 to 24 inches, a little bit further away than the black. Don't worry about evenness with this final layer though. I find if there's a patchiness to the white spray paint, it kind of brings out a natural look in the bricks. Like certain areas have been weathered more than others. Next, apply a dark brown wash to the whole base, quite a thin wash so that it sinks into the cracks of the filler that we applied earlier. Once that's dried, you can start to apply the patches of snow. So there are a lot of different ways to try and reflect snow in wargaming terrain. You could buy snow flock from a hobby supplier, and that may be an easier solution, but certainly more expensive. There are people that preach that bicarbonate soda solution works well. I'm skeptical about bicarbonate soda. Over time, biological reactions occur because it is an organic product. It has been known to, after about 2 to 3 years, I believe, become yellow and sticky. I believe I've heard it. It kind of like loses its shape and becomes sticky. And people have said, okay, so you use PVA glue in the solution and paint and something like that, and that prevents the yellow and prevents the stickiness. I'm not certain of that, and I can't really test it unless I cook up something now and then leave it for 4 years. And because the terrain that I make, I sell, I can't, like in good faith, use a bicarbonate solution. Because I don't want to sell someone terrain and in 4 years' time it'd be obsolete. So this way that I've done here is cheap. It's pretty effective, I think, with the right amount of washes, the right amount of base work. As long as you're not trying to cover a full board with it, as long as it's in patches, then this works fine. And this is simply a filler, PVA glue, and white paint solution. So you're going to want to apply it to the cracks and corners and edges of the bricks. You want to apply it in big clumps that will take probably a day to dry or so. And then here I've done a second application as well. The second application includes less filler but more PV glue and white paint, and this sort of, sometimes filler can crack, so this gets into those cracks. It solidifies these snowy clumps. Also, with this second layer, you're going to want to dry brush on top of the base, so that all those bumps, all that texture on the base pops through the wash that we've done. And finally, apply different shades of brown washes to the base in patches. If I do 2-3 iterations of a wash, it'll start off with a lighter wash. I'll do this in large clumps. I'll push this right up to the snow piles, so that there's a lot of space has been covered. Even parts of the white get this brown wash applied to them. Makes it look dirty, makes it look trodden on. And then the second wash is slightly darker than that, and that goes more into the center of the light brown wash that I've done, so that it sort of spaces out, so it's darker in the center. Think of like a bullseye. And then the darkest wash is just in small patches in the center. And once you've done that, once you've finished those washes, like I said, really simple techniques. Anyone can do them. Really cheap and effective as well, because on the finished product, when you've gone through a few different stages of washes, I think it looks pretty effective. I think it looks pretty good. The white shines through well. The base is dark in patches, giving it good contrast. And for final touches, you're going to want to paint the edges of your base that we beveled earlier. You can do this in any sort of color that you want. Alright, thanks for checking out this video. The terrain shown here is available to purchase in sets in our store, as are the foam modeling bricks used to create it. Subscribe to our channel for more terrain tutorials, product showcases, and strategy game guides. We're available for commission. You can find us on Fiverr or email us directly. You could also browse our store for a variety of terrain and hobby supplies. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.